people to vote for persons of the year in different categories. The first category is a community member of the year, somebody who's gone above and beyond for students, somebody did something special for our district. The second category is staff members, people who have given their time and gone above and beyond for students. And the third one is student of the year, which is usually goes to somebody who did something nice for other students in the district. In the past, this is the 5th year we're doing it. And at this time, I'd like to call up some people that would like to hand them out. Do we have any members of the Foundation of Denville here? Or the PTA? Any PTA members?
He's already.
Okay, I guess it's me then. That's fine. Okay, our community members of the year are people who worked hard on equity for students in the district. They're part of the Denville Voices for Racial Equity. And there's 2 members that were voted by the committee. First one is Abdul Staten. And the second one is Shay Adienka. Would you please come up? To the Sure. All right, just gotta, I want to stand here. Just
so thank you, Dr. Forte, for this award. Thank you for the members of Denville community who were brave enough to come out and embrace us and embrace our vision. So for those who don't know, we believe in racial justice and equity for members of all races. We believe that our humanity, collectively speaking, not just my humanity, but our humanities are linked with one another's, right? So this comes from some of the great philosophers of our time, specifically Desmond Tutu, right? So speaking about folks of different colors, our humanities tied up with each other's. And that's we agree and try to fight towards, not fight in a physical sense, but more fight in terms of an educational, kind of spiritual, psychological sense. So when we do events across campus, rather across the community, we do so with the understanding that we are trying to uplift one another so that everyone's voices count and heard and can be accounted for. So that is a little bit about Denville Voices and who we are.
Sure. So I'd like to thank the school board for being very welcoming and very open to the suggestions and ideas that our organization had to improve racial equality for Denville students. It was very exciting to see how open you were and how welcoming you were, and we really sincerely appreciate it. We do appreciate this award. Just want to let everyone know that the work will continue in partnership with the school board, in partnership with the Denville residents, as we continue to work as a community, because we might not be able to make a lot of difference, but we can change our community and we can make a big difference in the place where we are at. And that's what our goal is. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Would you take a picture? Our second award is our staff members. This goes to an amazing group of staff members who dealt with me throughout the whole year, trying to figure out how to keep the school safe. When we started the school year, we had a few goals. Goal number 1 was to get every kid in the school every day. That was the goal. We wanted every kid to be able to come to school. So There were still some that didn't come, but we did open up the schools for anybody who would like to come every day. There were some districts doing an A day, B day, A week, B week, things like that. And we decided we weren't going to do that. That was a tough one to overcome right off the bat. The second thing was we wanted to make sure that no matter what, every person in the town would have access to Wi-Fi and devices, no matter of their economic status. So we did accomplish that. And the last one, which was very important, was to have zero in-school spread of COVID, which we did so far. Still have a few days left, but we were able to do that. And the 7 of you, I give you the credit for that. That was a big deal, making sure that we did that. And I appreciate everything you did. So this year it goes to all 7 of our school nurses. So I'd like to call them up. First one's Mariana from Lakeview. Susan Stiles from Lakeview. Dorinda Angelo from Lakeview also. Jessica Seidel. Jessica has 2 roles. She's the Valley View nurse, and she's also the district head nurse. So she and I really spent a lot of time on the phone together this year, I would say, right? She was amazing, and we appreciate everything you did. We still have more. We have Jennifer Sinha from Valley View. Barbara Beer from Riverview. And Kelly Skarupa from Riverview. So these are our 7 school nurses. They each got a plaque, and they each got a $50 gift card to go to dinner, hopefully together if you can, to Casabella. So hopefully you'll be able to do that and enjoy. And our last group, they got a plaque as well, and they each got a $100 gift card to Houseman Taste. Maybe you can use it for your group to have a lunch or something. So do what you like with it. That's great. Thank you, everybody. We're going to take a quick picture.
I just want to say really quick, ladies, thank you so much. It has been a crazy year for all of you. And Dr. Forte and I, like he said, have said so many times, the whole board has said the goal, and we're 2 weeks away, right? No transmissions in the building. It would not have been possible without you. I've talked to a number of you about my children a number of times. So thank you very much and congratulations.
And the last award goes to our student of the year. This student was nominated by a few teachers, and the teachers said the same thing, that she was willing to go above and beyond for some students that may have needed help during COVID, especially during recess, dealing with keeping your mask on, things like that. And you were a terrific help to them. And when I read it, I was excited that you were the one that was chosen. So we did get a chance to speak to them on the phone. So I'd like to call up Anderson Emmett from Riverview. Your parents too? Parents want to come up too? So Anderson received a plaque, a $100 gift certificate to Color Me Mine, $50 for Houseman Taste, and $50 gift certificate to Denville Dairy.
I was just going to say to always be kind, and it brings a smile to other people's faces so you can make them kind too.
What did I tell you? That was a perfect speech. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone that came for the award ceremony. We have a very long meeting in front of us, so please do not feel like you need to stay. If you would like to go, we're going to take a 2-minute break here. Feel free to leave and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you for coming and congratulations. We're here to hear everyone, but we're not going to allow disrespectful talk, okay? Everybody's going to be heard in a respectful and orderly fashion, and if not, you're going to be asked to leave. Thank you.
I'm ready.
Okay, so we're going to continue on with the meeting. We have Superintendent Comments. Dr. Forte. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, that falls under the discussion of the reopening plan, which was what your comments were going to be about. I apologize.
Yes. So, yeah, you know what? I'll do that first, and then I'll come to the rest of my comments. Okay, so the federal government is requiring that the district, all districts in New Jersey, I guess in the country too, have to come up with a plan for reopening for 21-22. And that's due to the new, it's called ARP, which is money that's coming from the federal government to our district, as well as other districts around the state. It's the American Rescue Plan, which is ARP. It's part of the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Act. And our state is set to receive money, and our district is as well. In order to receive the money, you had to put in you have to submit a plan to the state. And this plan is in draft format. It was posted on the Denville Board of Education website on June 3rd, and it will be discussed tonight, and it'll be on for board approval on June 28th. So the first part deals with universal wearing of masks. What I have down here for that, this is from a team too, not just from me, but after discussing this with several people in our district, the Denville School District will consider the most current recommendations of the New Jersey Department of Health, the Denville Department of Health, the New Jersey Department of Education regarding the wearing of face coverings. At the present time, all schools in New Jersey are mandated to require face coverings in school as per Governor Murphy's executive orders 175 and 241. This website is the main source of guidance for the New Jersey school personnel regarding face coverings. And there's a link in this plan. That's the website that tells whether or not masks are required and what type of, what way you have to use masks in school. Physical distancing, the district will provide as much physical social distancing as possible in classrooms, buses, and common areas. We will consult with the Department of Health and review guidance provided by the New Jersey Department of Health and New Jersey Department of Education. During lunch periods, we will utilize additional staff to provide the recommended social distance. So we opened our schools this year under pretty much the same guidance. We provided as much social distancing as possible. Because we had every student every day, we weren't able to provide a full 6 feet in every instance. So we relied on some parents driving kids to school, and we relied on extra staff to try to thin out the each classroom to allow for some social distancing. Hand washing and respiratory etiquette. By the way, this is the mandatory form. I'm reading through it. These are the pieces that are important that the federal government says are important to this plan. So hand washing and respiratory etiquette, we will continue to educate students and staff and the general public of importance of hand washing and respiratory etiquette. Cleaning and maintaining facilities, improving ventilation. That's Appendix A, basically doing the same things we have been doing. We will continue to sanitize, continue to have the filters changed on a regular basis, and keep up with the maintenance of our HVAC system. Contact tracing, we do that with our local health department, but we do have staff members that were trained by Johns Hopkins University in contact tracing, and we all work together to make sure that we're keeping the building safe. Diagnostic and screening, we will continue with the daily form throughout this year. And for next year, if we will go by the recommendation. Right now, if it's still recommended for the rest of the year, we're going to do it. If it's not recommended for next year, we'll come up with a second way of doing it. Efforts to provide vaccinations to educators and other staff and students if eligible. The Denville School District partnered with the St. Clair's Medical Center in April of 2021 to provide vaccinations for all staff who wanted to participate. The district has also contacted a provider for voluntary student vaccination clinic, which could possibly be held in the future. This has not been decided. It's just something we're looking at, and we may consider it in the future. The nurses have been providing information in our weekly messages regarding the vaccine. Accommodations for children with disabilities. One of the things we need to worry about is what happens if someone gets COVID next year when we don't have a virtual program. So to do that, we will have to use virtual means, but it would be using the home instruction program that we currently have, meaning if a child is out of school for a length of time, they get home instruction. That's the program we'd have to use to educate individuals. If there was an outbreak in a classroom and the entire classroom could go virtual while during the quarantine. And describe how the LEA will ensure continuity of services. So that's Appendix C. We still have our tiered system of reports. All action plans will continue. All interventional personnel will provide in-person services. Virtual tutoring with certified teachers will continue for students needing additional support beyond services offered during the school day. Social and behavioral supports will be provided through district staff as well as St. Clair staff that we currently have working in the district daily. Our crisis teams and counselors are set and ready to help students and staff when needed. Referrals to St. Clair's when students are in crisis. Counselors will be able to meet with students in person, and schedules will be reviewed and approved by the principals. A behaviorist is also available for students to help with their learning. And lunch service for free and reduced lunch, because the district now qualifies for free and reduced lunch. One of the schools does. The district will continue to contract with Morris Hills Regional to provide a pre-packaged lunch daily. The district will follow all the Department of Ed and USDA regulations regarding school lunches. Public comment, how was this done? So this plan was developed with a committee of staff members. It was reviewed by the Board of Education, district health advisors, Department of Health, school physician, and was available for review by members of the public and the full staff in draft format on the district website. The plan is being discussed on June 14th, and it was advertised to the public. The Board of Ed, all comments will be considered when finalizing the plan, which will be approved at the June 28th board meeting. Describe how the LEA ensured that the plan is understandable in uniform format to the extent practical, written in language that parents can understand, or if not practical, to provide written translation to a parent with limited English proficiency will be orally translated for such parent. This document will be published in English and Spanish. It will be made to everyone on the public website. It will be sent to the public via social media, email, newsletter. The Special Services Department will provide oral translation for any members of the public who will require it. This document will be translated into any language that is requested by any member of the public. And that is the plan. This again it was done on a state approved template. That's why one of the things in there said, how would you make sure that it's done in a uniform manner? That's the uniform manner that the state is requiring. And we will have this for vote again on the 28th. That's all I have about the reopening plan right now.
Thank you, Dr. Forte. Did you want to go into your comments, or you want us to hold off on them?
No, I think it's good to go into them. Thank you. So remember, June 28th will be the board self-evaluation and goal setting for 21-22. We'll have Charlene from School Business, the School Boards Association. Summer enrichment and summer school and enrichment. Right now, we have 315 registrations for enrichment. It's Monday through Friday. It's August 28th through August 5th. It's not going to occur during the week of 7/4. The ESY is in the AM, and then there's supervision for lunch. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is that you've already approved it, but I just want to make sure everybody understood what it exactly is. So students who have instruction in the morning can actually stay for supervision for lunchtime and then go to enrichment. So we do have a plan that would allow for parents to have their children in school Monday through Thursday, except for the week I told you, July 4th, from 8:30 to 3 p.m. And the cost is approximately $110 per week. The cost is only for the afternoon. The morning session is paid by the board. And there will be transportation for students in the ESY program to get to school and also go home, but there wouldn't be busing after the enrichment if they choose to do that. Valley View graduation is set for Morris Knowles on June 21st at 11 a.m. There are seats for all Board of Ed members who responded on the turf. That was something I worked on with Mrs. Wagner. And one board member wanted to have their family. That board member would need to sit in the bleachers in that case. If that board member wants to talk about it, it'd be fine to have a conversation.
I don't know if my family would allow me to sit with them.
The Northwest is now in the green or low category at this time for COVID, first time. Right now in our district, we have 0 positive cases, but we do have 3 people on quarantine. This could be because they're waiting for a test or have symptoms. And the last thing I had was, just as a reminder, we need to decide what to do with Board of Education meetings after the state of emergency expires. That would be for the July meeting going forward. And I just wanted to say again, thank you to all of our award winners today. They were terrific. We couldn't have done it without them. All of our people, including our little student from Riverview. I loved her speech in the end. And our nurses were amazing this year, keeping us healthy. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Forte.
Ms. Wagner, may I ask, Mr.
Sure.
President, quick? Could you clarify the dates on the summer enrichment, Steve, one more time?
So it's June 28th through August 5th. That's Monday through Thursday, though. And we're not going to have the enrichment part during the week of 7-4. We will have the AM educational component, just not the enrichment.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Forte. Assistant Superintendent's comments. Dr. Cullis?
Thank you. Just continuing on that same line. So our Denville Accelerated Learning Academy and the ESY are really going to be running simultaneously and together. So it's going to have a little bit more of a campy feel than it has in the past. So each week we have selected a theme, and our activities are going to be surrounding around those themes. And we're also going to have quite a few enrichments embedded in the program. So it's the largest group we've ever had for the summer. We're very excited. And yes, we are providing transportation. So it's a large undertaking in a short time, but we're really excited about it. And we look forward to starting that in just a week and a half. So that'll be great. The second thing, tomorrow night, the middle school, the 8th graders are presenting, it's called the Blues and Beyond. They've been participating in a 12-day residency about African American history and music and how those integrate, and how history has really been developed through music, or how music has been developed based on the history. So we're looking forward to that. Our students, our 8th graders, wrote their own blues music, and professional musicians recorded them. So tomorrow night, they're going to be presenting it. So if you're an 8th grade parent or a middle school parent, I know the link is available. It really is open to anyone. We can put that on the website, but they will be presenting those tomorrow night. And then those winners, the student winners, those published pieces will also be played at a Juneteenth ceremony in Connecticut. So those musicians will be playing our students' work. So it's pretty exciting. Kindergarten registration is ongoing. We have had a little surge here in the last couple of weeks. We now are at 182, which is about where we expect our kindergarten to be. So it looks like we're right on track for our typical size kindergarten class for next year. So we currently have 75 at Riverview and 107 at Lakeview. This concludes the Assistant Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Cullis. And Business Administrator's comments. Mrs. Grassi?
Two comments. For tonight's agenda, you will have 2 board resolution for action items. Typically, we'll have this this resolution for the regular session, but due to the timing of these applications, we need to have them for action tonight. The first one is the IDEA grant. The grant just came out, and it needs to be approved soon, and the application submitted by the end of this month. And the second resolution is to award Maplewood for supplies for the summer enrichment program. And again, these supplies are needed for the programs, and we need to order them really quickly so we can have them available. Thank you.
Lars, I'm
And if-
sorry.
And I was just going to mention what the Maplewood workshop was. So this is one of our enrichment programs where it is a woodworking program. So some of our staff is being trained on they're all hand tools, but it will allow 64 students at a time to be building different projects. So depending on the grade level, they'll be working at least 2 times per week on their woodworking projects. There's a variety of things, 2nd grade through 8th grade, 7th grade projects. And then once we have these materials and curriculum and the training, we can run this after school during the school year as well.
Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is public comment. Before we open up to public comment, I just want to make a few statements. And are you able to put that up, Rick? Okay. Children wearing masks in school have been a hotly debated topic throughout New Jersey this school year. Recently, Governor Murphy's public statements about school district discretion regarding masks has made the topic headline-worthy across the state. With many districts altering mask mandates, it can be confusing, to say the least, to fully understand which decisions are left to the discretion of the district and which are imposed upon the district. After consulting with the board's attorney and conducting a thorough review of Executive Order Number 175 and Governor Murphy's recent statements, the mask wearing requirements of Executive Order 175 remain applicable within district classrooms throughout the remainder of this school year. Most up-to-date information regarding masks can be found in the weekly communications from the district. Just to review, as of Friday, June 11th, mask requirements are as follows. Masks are not required while outdoors. Masks are required on school buses. Masks are required in school buildings. However, at the teacher's discretion and as allowed in Executive Order 175 for extreme excessive heat or other conditions, mask breaks can be provided while students and staff are at their desks. As we believe it is our duty, the Denville Board of Education strives to be as transparent as possible. We hope you find the following information helpful in how the district has and will continue to decide best practices for COVID-related matters. And they were kind enough to put that up behind me. Here are the things that we review. Executive orders, first and foremost. The executive order is in place. Without following that executive order, we're breaking the law. Breaking this executive order means risking our state funding and other various consequences. The administration looks to the guidelines for New Jersey Department of Health, Morris County Division of Public Health, Denville Department of Health, and the New Jersey Department of Education. They also consult and receive recommendations from the district nursing staff, which have been fantastic. Again, 0 transmissions this school year. The board physician, medical experts, staff from St. Clair's Hospital, as well as experts in the field of public health, immunology, and other relevant fields of expertise. The Board of Ed is aware of a petition being circulated to unmask children in the schools. The board and administration must follow the executive orders in place regarding masks. Therefore, following the request of this petition would be breaking the law. The nursing staff and administration have done an excellent job ensuring the health and well-being of everyone within the district buildings this year. We are 2 weeks away from the end of the school year. To date, as we said, but it bears repeating, we have had 0 cases of COVID transmission within the district during school-related activities. This has been the goal of the district this year, and I'm excited that we're so close to the finish line. This would not have been possible without community support, completing daily health screenings, and working closely with nursing staff to decide which children to keep home, in addition to the diligence of the nursing staff and their contact tracing. If the time comes that mask requirements are no longer mandated by executive order, the district will be leaning on this team to continue to guide the mask requirements and procedures for the district. And this is just the screen behind me says a summary of what I just said. There's 0 cases of COVID transmission, 0 cases of mask-related illness or injury reported to the district. And this, what is up there, comes directly from the board's attorney. After consulting with the board's attorney and conducting a thorough review of Executive Order 175 and Governor Murphy's recent statements, the mask-wearing requirements of Executive Order 175 remain applicable within district classrooms throughout the remainder of the school year. If the time comes that mask requirements are no longer mandated by law, the district will continue to lean on the team who has guided us thus far to regulate mask requirements and procedures for the district. The other issue that I wanted to address before we open it for public comment was vaccinations. Behind me is right from the draft for the plan that Dr. Forte just reviewed. What it says is Efforts to provide vaccinations to educators, other staff, and students if eligible. The Denville Public School District partnered with St. Clair Center in April 2021 to provide vaccinations for all staff who wanted to participate. The district has also contacted the provider for a voluntary student vaccination clinic, which could possibly be held on campus in the future. The nurses are providing information to parents in the weekly messages regarding COVID vaccines. The vaccination clinic was provided at a time when vaccines were very difficult to obtain, and it was something that the district was proud of to do in partner with St. Clair's, and all the participants consented, and it was voluntary. If, going forward, the district proceeds with assisting parents to obtain a COVID vaccination for their child or children, a program will only occur with a parent or guardian on site to ensure supervision of the child being vaccinated, and will be 100% voluntary. The third topic that I wanted to address before we open to public comment is meeting minutes, our voting records, and the Board of Education terms. All board meetings are recorded, are available on our YouTube channel, and minutes of each meeting are posted on the district website once approved by the board. Minutes of each board meeting are a matter of public record and can be accessed on the district website, including a record of all votes. Board of Ed member terms can be found on the district website. You follow the Board of Ed tab, then Board of Ed members, and it's under our contact information. Okay, so we are going to open for public discussion. Again, I'm going to ask that everyone follows the time limit. It's 3 minutes, and we ask that you be respectful. Please remember that this is a comment-only section. This is not a back and forth discussion with the board or the administration. The purpose of bylaw 0167, public participation in board meetings, is to recognize the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters. In order to permit the fair and orderly expression of such comment, the participant must preface comments by an announcement of his/her name and place of residence. Statements made by a participant shall be limited to 3 minutes duration, and no participant may speak more than once on the same topic until all others who wish to speak on that topic have been heard. All statements, questions, or inquiries shall be directed to the board president, and the board reserves the right to limit the total amount of time. If somebody in the back would do me a favor and just pull the door closed so that we hear comment. If you can, you're welcome to come on up. Thank you very much. We're also going to be taking comments from online. So we'll go ahead and read those comments. You can come up to this microphone over here, sign in with your name and place of residence, identify yourself, and then we'll go ahead and begin the timer. You guys, since you're here, let's start in the room and then we'll go with online.
Mrs. Wagner, can we open the public session at 8:11?
8:11 it is, Damaris. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one person right now online that raised their hand. They just raised their hands. We can ask them to.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's Aiden Ortega. You raised your hand in the chat. If you'd like to make a comment.
Yes. Hi, my name's Allison Ortega. My son's Aiden Ortega. After hearing everything you guys were saying and talking about having masks on transportations, but you guys were saying not to have masks with high temperatures. But these children are on transportation buses with high temperatures, and other school districts are not allowing to have children wear masks of 75 and above with temperatures, and these kids are wearing masks on the transportation buses. And now my son is going to the summer program, so I feel like he's going to be in the summer wearing a mask, which is just disturbing to me. So I want to know your input on that.
Mrs. Ortega, thank you. We will, I'm sure, be having another public session about this on when we vote on June 28th, and we're going to listen to all comments tonight, and the board will reconvene on the 28th and address them then.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, hello everyone. Christine Murphy, 12 Cottage Circle. Everyone in this room is a part of the Denville community, and it is our moral duty to look after the best interests of one another. The reopening plan under the American Rescue Plan is disgraceful. What this plan says is that the Denville Township is willing to accept the $1.7 million bribe to continue to abuse children in our schools. Spray disinfecting chemicals into the air that they're breathing, and bring a vaccine clinic for an unproven drug which utilizes unproven mRNA technology that has never been used in humans before. So if anybody up here has taken this, that should concern you. And don't let your cognitive dissonance, if you've already taken the vaccine, get in your way of informing yourself, because we can save lives by informing people about the dangers of this vaccine. We have a wealth of knowledge in this phone. Anything you want to know, you can find out. This board has a complete lack of due diligence. Who's investigating if the brew tabs are safe? Anybody? No. You're gonna harm somebody. And if a nurse at this school that just came up and accepted an award, and they were given an award with a gift card with your taxpayer money, your money. If any nurse sent out a memo saying that that vaccine is safe, they are liable. If somebody went and got that vaccination on that nurse's recommendation, they're liable. No one knows if that vaccine is safe. It's in clinical trials until 2023. Are you kidding me? None of you deserve to be here. You're gonna kill someone, you're gonna kill a kid. And it's not gonna be some kid that you don't know on the news. It's gonna be your neighbor's kid. God forbid your own kid. Get it together. This is disgraceful. I haven't seen something this horrible since 9/11. That's how disgraceful you all are. I said this in early May with the masks. We gotta set the precedent with the masks, because the vaccinations is where this goes. This is America. This is not a communist country. If you want to run it that way, leave. We don't need your volunteer time. You can resign.
Angela Ryden, 12 Mountain Road. Obviously, this is a very passionate subject for everyone, and I believe that in your hearts, you are trying to do the right thing. However, we need to look at the science and where we are now. So I'm not going to get into debate about mRNA and all the different vaccines. I've worked in a pharmaceutical company for the better part of 15 years since I got out of the military. So I'm not going to debate the science of that, because that's something that people need to understand. However, where we stand right now in Denville, it does not make sense to plan to have our children in masks in the fall. The numbers from the COVID-19 New Jersey site as of today, in Denville, 60% of all aged people are already vaccinated with a complete dose of whatever vaccine they received. That's up even from 4 weeks ago from 54%. We are in the middle of June. We have until September. The CDC and other bodies out there have said they expect 70 to 80% is what you need for herd immunity. So if we're talking just vaccinations right now, 60% of our town is already vaccinated. So if you add in the people that have had COVID and recovered, where we've already proven and studies have shown the antibodies are sticking around for 6 to 9 to 12 months, we are over the threshold for expected herd immunity. At this point, we are at a point where we've gotten to having this under control in our town. And if you think about the social and emotional aspect this is having to our children, not one of the 5 children in my household want to wear masks. I have 3 in a private school and 2, unfortunately, they go in another town because of where their mother is. They all want to come to Denville because they know the education is better here, and my 3 are coming next year. However, if they are required to wear masks, they may not. I may leave them where they are if the private school is going to allow them not to, because that is what they've asked. They asked me to come here tonight and speak on their behalf. They don't want to wear masks, and I think it was a great sentiment. The student of the year said, you can spread kindness with a smile. You can't see a smile behind a mask, though. My 11-year-old went somewhere the other day and didn't have a mask on and thought people were looking at him and was in tears because he has now been conditioned that he must wear a mask anytime he's outside the home. That is not what we want our kids to feel. Yes, we needed to wear them. They were necessary. They slowed the spread, absolutely. But we're at a point now where we need to think about moving beyond this and getting back to one of the things that's in your vision statement, your mission statement, about providing quality education. And that is not just about the book learning, it's the social and emotional learning you talked about, and you cannot do that with a mask on all the time. We need to let our kids get back to being kids.
So I'm Benjamin Cohen from Lakeview School. I live on 2 Van Dorn Place. So, have you ever thought that your friends, your classmates would turn on you and tell you to keep your mouth quiet and put your mask on? Well, guess what? My friends, the people I thought I knew, did that exact thing to me. Okay? So it really hurt me, and I totally agree with everything that everybody else has said before me. So it's just hard to speak out against people who are higher than you. Like, I'm just a student and you're on the or like you control like the district, and like so I started 4th grade virtual, and my parents thought that it was too much to handle. So they switched me and my brother to in-person, and little did they know that I would literally be bullied to the point that I would come home trying to hide the thought that my friends had bullied me. So now my mom and I fight back against the terrible rules that the governor and the district make. I fight back against what my friends say and answer, mind your business, and don't break the rules of Lakeview Pride. So now I tell my friends not to break the pride and leave me alone. So remember, you don't have to follow the rules of bad people who make bad rules. You can fight back against what people say. You can stand up and fight back together.
I just want to say, I'm sorry I missed your name, but thank you for coming up and having the courage to share your thoughts. Congratulations. You did a great job.
His name is Benjamin Cohen. My name is Marietta Cohen of 2 Van Dorn Place. I'm a full-time working mom in my family's 3rd generation small business. More importantly, I am here tonight to be a voice for my 3 boys. My husband and I chose to live in Denville because of its charming downtown and excellent schools. What I am here to share are facts. Because without awareness, there isn't choice. And it is time for you, elected members of the Board of Education, to listen to the parents, listen to these children, and allow them choice. And yes, I am aware that there are 6 days left of school. Masks are an experimental product. There is no safety data, no effectiveness data on the use of masks. No one is recording adverse events on children. There is no oversight committee, no board. Schools are forcing an experiment on children, and I do not recall consenting to this experiment. From January 2020 through May 2021, 3 children between the ages of 5 and 18 passed away from COVID. This age group has a 99.997 infection rate. Let that fact sink in. Lakeview's welcoming slogan is, "Where children love learning." I am sad to tell you that for my kids, that no longer holds true. The love has been dimmed. It's been replaced with slogans of mask compliance, and it's heartbreaking. I shared here last month that my incoming kindergartner will not see the inside of Lakeview if things do not change. This is a culmination of months of frustration, months of parents being silenced and shamed for asking for mask choice, asking for the data. Well, tonight, I am demanding it. When we have a board member who will not attend these meetings in person because of their own fear, then that is a conflict of interest, and that person should have no say in what our kids are allowed to do in schools. For months, parents' emails have been answered with, "We have to follow the executive orders and guidelines." You can no longer refer to data from 2020 to make decisions in 2021. How are dozens of other school districts in New Jersey no longer requiring masks indoors, outdoors, and on buses? What loophole are they using? Have any of you reached out to any of the other school districts for advice? Where is your data? Because to me, it sounds like you are not interested in following the science, but instead it is about compliance. You need to stop hiding behind politicians and fraudulent immunologists and allow for a back and forth discussion so we can properly advocate for our children.
Hold it, okay. Dana King, 34 Warren Trail. I wasn't going to speak tonight, and I think some of the other people here have said a lot of what I wanted to say, but I did want to point out, my daughter is currently in daycare, and contrary to what many people think, over the age of 2, it's not mandated for them to wear a mask. The daycares are given discretion. It's strongly encouraged, but it's not required. My daughter has been in daycare in Denville since July. No mask. None of her friends are wearing masks. She's 4. There have been a few teachers that got COVID. None of the kids got COVID. The rooms got shut down for 2 weeks, but none of the kids got COVID. And they're not wearing masks. So what happens from age 4 in pre-K to age 5 in kindergarten, that now all of a sudden those same kids are going to be super spreaders of COVID. It's just not a reality. The kids are not spreading it. To put them in masks for 8 hours a day, I'm sure when we're all at our jobs, we get our mask breaks when we're sitting at our desk, which I thought the whole point of the sneeze guards was so that they could sit there, distance with the sneeze guards and have the mask down. But instead, they're spending 8 hours a day. My son goes to aftercare at the school. So from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. when I pick him up, he has a mask on for all of except maybe 30 minutes that day. When I left to come here, he said, "Mommy, thank you for trying to help me breathe better." What we are doing to them is heartbreaking, but at the end of the day, the only thing we are asking for is a choice. As it stands right now, you guys are forcing this on everybody. All we're asking for is a choice. If you as a parent want your child to wear a mask, I'm not judging, I don't care. Great, if that's what works for you guys. All we are asking for is the same option to give a choice to our children. And that is our right to be able to do that. And lastly, I just want to point out, as I was looking at some of the return to in-person learning for the fall, Denville's the first one about universal and correct wearing of masks. Denville's statement, at the present time, all schools are mandated to require face coverings in school per Murphy's orders. Just as a comparison, here's Mansfield's. Same line item. It says, masks will be optional for students and staff starting in the 21 to 22 school year. So I understand you've consulted attorneys, but my guess is they consulted their attorney too. So the attorneys, I guess, need to get on the same page if they're reading this differently. But we just want a choice, that's all.
So if you're joining us virtually and you want to comment, please type your name in the comments so that you can be acknowledged. Go ahead.
My name is Morgan Houseman. I'm a 6th grader at Valley View Middle School. I remember at the beginning of the school year, I was so excited to meet new friends from Lakeview and even make some new friends from Riverview. Part of making friends is being able to exchange smiles with each other while passing in the hallways and being able to see each other's face without masks. We couldn't even do that. When you smile with a mask on, nobody sees your smile. And that's not even half the problem. Separate from not being able to make friends easily was also the part that I couldn't focus as well as I could have in a normal year. My grades have gone down. Throughout the day, I have to adjust my mask or I have to make sure I can breathe properly, and that distracts me from whatever topic we're learning. And now that we have finally the chance to unmask ourselves, I can't imagine why Denville's not letting parents choose what's best for their kids. Other districts have awarded their residents by having the freedom of choice, so why can't we?
Thank you, Morgan, for your comments.
Tracy Pirillo, 10 Harriman Ave. Good evening. I'm one of many concerned parents in the Denville community. This past year has been not easy for anyone. The pandemic has touched every American's life. As a country and as a community, we have done our best to follow all the guidelines given to us, do as we're told to do. Now it has been more than a year. We have more information, more science to guide us, and a much better outlook as to where we should be. The mask mandate has been lifted by the governor. He has put the decisions in the hands of each individual school district. We have seen so many New Jersey districts release the mask mandate in our schools because they have followed the current science, the current data, and made decisions based on what is best for our children. Well, we as a Denville community are waiting for our turn to allow our children the option to go maskless. The WHO and UNICEF have published their guidances back in August that children under 5 should not be required to wear masks. This is based on the safety and overall interests of the child and the capacity to appropriately use a mask with minimal assistance. The group also advises against masks for older children when physically active. For children 6 through 11, masks should only be used in classrooms with widespread transmission and after consulting with parents to weigh the potential impact of learning and psychosocial development. Well, we know that our township is certainly not one of widespread transmission. Evidence emerging from schools now show that masks and most other restrictions are unnecessary for children of any age. Worrisome side effects have been depression, impaired learning, drowsiness, fatigue, as well as damaging mental well-being of students while failing to offer any discernible benefit for these children. By hiding teachers' faces, mask wearing makes it harder to develop linguistic skills and prevents younger children from lip reading and reading facial cues. Our children's basic rights are being violated by these mandates and social distancing. The initial reasons for masking have all been proven ineffective. Dr. Fauci himself even stated that store-bought masks do not work in preventing the spread of COVID. It's time we put the welfare of our students first. It's time to get them back to education, to put this awful time behind us. We know more now. It is our understanding that the school board's responsibility to make sure schools are well run, not run the schools, not for personal agenda. We should be working together to set us apart from other districts who are not following, working heavily on social, emotional, and non-academic support for our students to get back to the 21-22 school year. To quote our Riverview School's 5th grade mural, let us dare greatly to move forward and do what's best for our children.
Miss,
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Priestner, 5 Whitman Drive in Denville, and I currently have a 7th grader at Valley View. I came here tonight because I have a few questions about the agenda that was posted online for tonight, and I wanted to share with the board some things that I feel are important to keep in mind as you go forward with the 21-22 school reopening plan. The parents here tonight have done a phenomenal job at putting the pieces of the puzzle together about our children. But there's one fundamental piece that not one person has mentioned: money. Because it all comes down to money. If I understand the agenda correctly, there is, I'm not going to go through my notes because I don't have enough time. There appears to be upwards of millions of dollars that are going to be transferred into reserve accounts from money that was not spent. Unanticipated excess current year revenue or unexpended appropriations from the general fund. Amounts are not specified in the agenda, so I don't know what those amounts are. Denville Board of Education has determined that an amount not to exceed $5 million is available for such purpose of transfer. My point is, there's extra money. There's extra money that wasn't spent this year. It's being transferred into a capital reserve account and a maintenance reserve account. I don't know who decides who spends that money or how it gets spent. But the point is, if you submit this plan to the state, you're getting money. Section 9 or Section 7 on page 9, be it resolved that the board hereby approve the submission of the ARP ESSER application and accepts the grant award of the funds upon subsequent approval of the application with the following amounts. ESSER, $327,000. Doesn't sound like an awful lot compared to our budget. So as far as the money goes, if we have millions of dollars of unspent money, let's not hold ourselves tied in handcuffs to the state for this application for a couple $100,000. There's many districts that have already submitted questions and open letters to Governor Murphy about the mask policy. Oh, and by the way, the loophole that the districts have found with the masks is the excessive heat weather thing. Butler District last week made masks optional due to the weather. They extended that for this coming week. It's going to be in the 70s. It's not going to be too hot to wear masks, but they found the loophole. My final thoughts regarding masks and our children. While mask mandates have been lifted in most forums, New Jersey students and staff are still required to continue mask wearing in schools, limiting the ability of school districts to make data-driven, fact-based decisions that serve the best interests of their learning community goes against everything public education stands for. And it's time to bring our student districts back to a greater degree of normalcy. And I'd like to close with a quote from the Brick Township Board of Ed president, as taken from her open letter to Governor Murphy. I cannot speak to what will work for other districts. We're Brick. But school districts in New Jersey are operated by locally elected school boards and superintendents working together with district stakeholders. It is time to once again to let us do what we were elected to do with our highly trained professional staff in place, run our districts with the authority to make decisions in the best interest of our community. I hope we can come together and put our kids first without masks in the fall or given the choice.
so we're going to take an online comment. Mr. Rokicki, if you want to unmute yourself and go ahead. In the interest of fairness, we're going to alternate.
Yep. So my name is Reverend Raymond Rokicki Jr., and I reside at 106 East Glen Road. And I just wanted to take a moment and thank the Board of Education, because this is a completely volunteer activity. and I understand that making the difficult decisions is not always the easiest thing to do. And so thank you. And from a sense of ableism, I just want to point out, as an individual who has family members with special needs, the sense that there is some linguistic challenge, that there are issues with identifying facial expressions. I would like to take a moment and remind everyone that we have visually impaired members of our community that don't have any of the abilities to read the facial cues that we're so desperately looking for. You can still see eyebrows raised above a mask. You can still have a conversation and hear voice inflection. All I can say is the science is there. The children may have amazing recovery rates, but I don't want my child to be the one that transmits this to someone's grandparent who, because of medical necessity, could not be vaccinated. So if we're worried about killing people, let's be worried about killing the elderly and be worried about killing those who have medical conditions that prohibit them from being vaccinated. Thank you.
Are there more members of the public here who would like to speak?
I'm Melissa Keenan. I live at 71 Woodstone Road. I just want to mention really quickly before I get into what I wrote that when I went to the CDC's website and I read the links to the studies that say that masking kids are safe, I was actually shocked because one of the studies proving that it was safe for kids to be masked was done using 47 kids in a hospital setting for 30 minutes of masking, which is not anywhere near what we're talking about here. So, I mean, that's really not good science. But anyway, I want to speak about something that I never hear mentioned in any reopening plans, and it has to do with humidity. There have been numerous scientific studies on how indoor humidity contributes to rates of respiratory infections. The consensus is that a humidity between 40 and 60% is ideal in significantly reducing the infectiousness of airborne viruses. In a study conducted for the National Institute for Occupational Safety and CDC, which I have attached to the petition, they found that at an indoor humidity of 23%, flu particles were 70 to 77% infectious after a cough, whereas at an indoor humidity of 43%, that infectability was reduced to as little as 14%. When considering the vast variability in mask materials, proper fit and usage by notoriously unscrupulous children, and conflicting data on the effectiveness of mask wearing to begin with, controlling humidity will allow us greater safety while virtually eliminating the variables and harms associated with continued universal mask wearing. I'd like to point out that controlling indoor humidity at the school is actually very inexpensive and very effective. I actually did it in my home last winter with the help of my kids. All you have to do is get a cool mist humidifier and a gauge and plug it in. And when the humidity is between 40 and 60%, you're golden. If it gets too high, you unplug the unit. It's simple. It would not require masking, and it would be as, if not more effective than masking every child with none of the side effects. Thank you for your time. Do you have anything to say?
Yes. So my name is Parker Keenan, and I am a 4th grade student in Lakeview Elementary. And I was virtual at first, and it was very overwhelming for me and my parents. And so
you went back in person.
I went back in person, and I thought it was good at first, but then I realized that the more that I got masked, the harder it became for me to breathe. And a couple of days ago, I went to the nurse's office, not being able to breathe. And it's been happening for a while now, but it just got very bad in the past week. And I had to actually go home and not wear a mask any time. And I couldn't breathe. So that's.
And you have witnessed your friend Ben getting bullied at school.
Yes.
Haven't you?
Ben is in my class, and even my friends are telling him to keep his mask on, even though sometimes it is on, but I guess they're just doing it. And so, yeah.
Thank you for speaking.
Okay, all right.
We're gonna switch over to somebody online. We're gonna alternate. Thank you.
Christine DeCana, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. Christine DeCania. I just want to hand it off to my daughter, Gabriella DeCania.
Hi, my name is Gabriella DeCania. I'm in 4th grade, 13 Delaware Trail, and I'm in 4th grade at Lakeview School. I just want to say thank you to the teachers and staff for keeping us safe during this pandemic, and thanks to all the board members.
Thank you.
Hi, Nancy Fagan, 288 Morris Avenue. So I don't come with statistics, or I leave it up to these ladies to do all that work, but I just come with emotion. So I don't think the mask is one size fits all kids, okay? My child that's in Riverview has issues. He has speech therapy. He has a mild case of asthma. The gentleman online that was just online saying that his kid has, I forget what he had, but anyway, that he can tell facial expressions from eyebrows. My kid has speech therapy. Explain to me how he understands or articulates what the teacher is communicating to him. And peers, that's how he gets additional speech therapy. Not just his therapist at school, he gets it from his peers, from his teacher. That's my first comment. That's why this mask mandate is ridiculous. He also has asthma. He has asthma. I went to the doctor at the beginning of the year because I knew better. I got a note and I said, he is allowed to have mask breaks. Doctor signed it, sent it to the nurse. Right before school, I faxed it, I emailed it to her. I was like, I'm not dealing with this. However, every day I ask my son, do you ask for a mask break? No. Why? Because I'm afraid. I'm afraid my teacher is going to get upset with me. That's ridiculous. My kid is afraid of his teacher because he has to wear a mask. Absolutely ridiculous. The bus. Okay. The bus. The doors open last week. The heat that rushed out of that bus with those kids on it, it's not unsafe just for the kids. It's unsafe. That bus driver is hauling 20 kids in that bus with a mask on her face. How safe is it for her? Really, how safe? It's absolutely ridiculous. I can't. It's unbelievable. So, summer school. My kid's going to summer school because he has an IEP. Fantastic. Heat, hot, bus, school. What's your situation? Get rid of these masks. I'm done with it. My kid's safe. He's healthy. My family's healthy. I'm done.
Yes, we do. Okay, Mr. Joyle, if you want to unmute yourself, you can go ahead. Mr. Joyle, if you'd like to unmute yourself, we're ready for you.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, all good.
Thank you very much. I'll try to be brief. First, thank you very much, as Mr. Rakicki and many others have said, for the time and the effort that this volunteer school board puts and has put into navigating an incredibly difficult year. We are of the utmost appreciation for you and for the school professionals. Second, I want to recognize the real concerns that a range of parents have identified over a range of issues tonight. This is not an easy issue, but I wanted to bring today's discussion down to a couple of points. First, I'm a Denville resident of 15 years, the parent of 4 children in the Denville school systems, 1 at the high school, 2 at the middle school, 1 at the elementary school. So I've seen all manners of challenges with socialization over the last 15 months. Second, I want to recognize that we found 2 ways to lower spread of COVID-19 over the last 16 months. The first is vaccination, which is not available to children under the age of 12. The second is masks, which even controlling for particulate versus droplet transmission and relative humidity has been shown to drastically cut transmission of this virus. I'm here to speak on behalf of my daughter because unlike many of the children on the phone today, she can't speak for herself. She's 6 years old, nonverbal, autistic, with a pacemaker, and a survivor of a life-threatening 4.5 months in the NICU with a severe immune disorder. An issue like COVID transmission to her could be fatal. And when the pandemic hit in March of 2020, we were placed in the position of trying to advance her educational development as a nonverbal autistic child versus putting her life at risk as an immune-compromised, cardiovascular compromised child in a public school system. The fact that the mask mandate exists, the fact that the masks have been mandated to be worn, and that is based on the best available science, has allowed us to make that choice, and others like us, to provide her an education without risking her life. Thank you for continuing to consider the science as it develops and creating sensible policies that follow the science as we see this disease progression unfold. And thank you for everyone for thinking of the community as a whole, including the most vulnerable of all of us.
Hi, my name is Jamie Ripke, and I'm at 34 Cayuga Ave, and I may jump around a little bit, so forgive me. Children virtually have a 0% risk of death or hospitalization from COVID, and like my friend said earlier, there have been 3 child deaths from COVID, which is devastating. It is. But did you know that statistically, a child has a higher chance of getting killed by a gunshot wound? Did you know that? We don't send our kids out in bulletproof vests every day. Did you know that as per the FDA, face masks are designated as experimental for emergency use? There are no long-term safety trials for daily use by children, yet our children are masked for almost 7 hours a day as mandated by the governor. I would love to know the studies that you are reading that show the long-term safety of masking of our children, because I would be happy to read them. I'm sure some of you have dogs, and I imagine you would not muzzle your dogs for 7 hours a day. Why are we muzzling our children for 7 hours a day? There are teachers who are not giving mask breaks. It's happening. There are children who are given a hard time by their teachers, like my friend Benjamin over here. And he's afraid to ask for that mask break, and it's not right. Do you realize that our children are being put at a greater risk of germs by not following the actual guidance given by how to wear a mask? From what I've been reading also, doctors are seeing an uptick of strep and other viruses. Ophthalmologists are seeing more eye infections. Dentists are noticing that many more children have more than normal buildup on their teeth because wearing a mask causes a dry mouth. This is all from wearing masks. Right now, my daughter has a sore on her nose that won't go away because of her mask. The World Health Organization, known as the WHO, has recently stated that asymptomatic transmission is very rare. Every morning, parents complete a parent survey. They're on their honor to be filling it out honestly. And if their children are sick, they're supposed to be keeping them home. If that is the case, our schools should be safe environments and masking should be a choice. Our own country's mask expert, Dr. Fauci, has flip-flopped. No masks, 1 mask, 2 masks. Now he's been proven a fraud. Okay? Who are we to believe? This isn't about science anymore. This is about the money that the district is getting, and our kids are being used as pawns. Okay? I want to talk about the executive order because this was mentioned earlier that the loophole, it states, includes exceptions for situations indoors or outdoors where wearing a mask would inhibit the individual's health. It also says in the extreme of hot conditions, it inhibits everyone's health to wear a mask. The inconsistencies don't make sense. Kids can play sports without masks. We can go to stores. We can go to the bar. We can go to the club. We can go to restaurants. But our children can't sit in a classroom? Have you I'll finish. Or would you like to finish this for me? Thank you. Have you researched the data on the harm that masks cause? There's a physician out in Colorado who says the data is overwhelming on this topic.
I thought you said
masks can cause low oxygen and high carbon dioxide levels, shortness of breath, toxicity, inflammation, increased stress hormones and sugar in the body, and create fear, anxiety, headaches, compromised cognitive performance, and other problems. Has the district gathered any data from the counseling department regarding the emotional effects that masks are having on children? I'll leave you with this. A child's freedom should not stop where someone else's fear begins. Make masks optional.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Maya Ripke. I am in 4th grade, Stony Brook Elementary School. I would just like to say that masks are not helping me because whenever you have to go to gym class, you basically have to leave your mask on. And I have to leave my mask on in gym class inside, but outside you can leave it off. So when I leave it inside and we're running and playing a game, I start to wheeze and get tired. That's enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to let everybody know ahead of time. It is 8:56. We've been taking public comments since 8:11. We're going to continue until 9:11, at which time we are going to cut it off. If you cannot stick to the 3-minute time limit, please do not come up and speak. We're asking this so everyone here has a chance to be heard. Do we have somebody online waiting?
Ms. Kobus, go ahead and you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Christy Kobus, 106 East Glen Road in Denville. Thanks so much for having me and allowing me to speak tonight as a 20-year resident of Denville. As someone who was a first responder during 9/11, I just want to say thank you so much to Steve and the entire board during this absolutely unprecedented time in year, how hard you all have worked to keep our kids safe, to keep our kids in school in some type of capacity since September. I work for an education agency right now, and the education that our students have had here and the opportunities has really been unprecedented compared to other districts around the country. You should be applauded, and we appreciate that. I don't need to address the complex medical issues that certain students face because I think Mr. Doyle very eloquently said that. Again, Steve in his opening remarks talked about how much these decisions made by all of you as volunteers are really being done in terms of consensus with the state and the county and local medical and health experts. And I truly appreciate that. And just the last thing that I want to say is really equity. You know, that's one thing that really has not come up in this conversation, that, as Dave said, vaccination and masks are the two things that we know help stop the spread of this disease. And while the spread is very low right now, the disease is continuing to evolve, the science is continuing to evolve, and we know masking works. So for the next 6 days of school, you know, I appreciate the public comments right now. We'll continue, and I know you will, evaluate where we will be in September. You know, a week seems like a lifetime right now, particularly after this year. So I would encourage, you know, I mask, my kids mask. We do it because there are students in the district who are suffering from cancer right now. There are students in the district who have diseases. And then, as I said, from an equity issue, we have a lot of intergenerational families and families of color who have been disproportionately impacted by the effects of COVID-19. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for doing this. And I appreciate all of the conversation and passion around it.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Heather Cohen, Van Dorn, Denville. I am not going to repeat everything that's been said. I back every person that has spoken in this room tonight that has been brave enough to come here in person. Their time is respected. Their opinions are respected. And I'm not going to repeat everything, but there's not enough science to prove any of this is valid. If there was, we'd be seeing consistencies throughout the entire country, and we're not. So the science argument is ridiculous. But I want to speak to something that brave boy back there said about being bullied. Because there was a time when schools were actually concerned about kids being bullied in school. There was a time that had the forefront of trying to protect our children from being bullied. I was bullied as a kid. I don't know if any of you were, I was. And that was in a different time when there was no social media. You could go home and you could escape it. You can't escape it now. Kids are bullied all day long. To see how adults are treating one another with the mask shaming behavior is awful. To push that on our children, to see that our children are now doing that to each other. I'm trying not to get emotional here, but my God, and parents are encouraging that. Teachers are encouraging that. No, you tell that child to keep their mask on. You shame them for not doing it. The psychological damage, the emotional damage that this is doing to these children, it's wrong. It's wrong. And for everyone who is on the phone advocating for their kids, who are scared for their kids, no one's discerning their concerns. It should be optional. You want to keep your kid masked? Keep the mask. That's fine. That's fine. The mandate is what is wrong here. The choice is what should be in every person, in every household's hand. It's the choice that should matter, not the mandate. And to those who are on the phone, I respect your opinions. I really do. But your opinion only goes as far as your face can be seen. Thank you.
We have a couple of repeats, which obviously will wait. I have Doreen Houseman, but it wasn't clear whether she's asking a question or not. She made a comment. Ms. Houseman, do you have a question to ask?
A lot of great comments from everyone. Thank you so much for your opinions. I don't want to again, repeat what's been said. I've been waiting to see what hasn't been said.
I'm sorry to
two
interrupt you.
cents.
If you wouldn't please just state your name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm
Thank
sorry. Joanne from Cedar Lake. Someone mentioned Fauci and how he's flip-flopped on the issue. When this all started, we were all terrified. We didn't know what to expect. And he told us originally we didn't need masks and that they were ineffective and that they were counterproductive because you're touching your face and you're adjusting them. They don't offer the proper protection. And masks like that, the boxes even say they don't even offer protection from COVID-19. There's no science to back this up. And then according to the Freedom of Information requests that his emails were released last week, he was telling friends that only people who are sick should be masked in those private emails. He also suppressed hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin. This is not about health, because if it was about health, they would let those treatments have been used. Not only that, this is all about the vaccines. They are invested in these vaccines. They own patents on these vaccines. They're trying to get us to take the vaccines, so they're using the mask and unmasking as a bait. And they're using our kids as pawns. And frankly, the kids that are young enough or old enough to be able to take the vaccines, they're having heart issues, inflammation of the heart, myocarditis, I believe it is, for kids like 12 to 15 who are getting the vaccines. The vaccines aren't safe for kids. They shouldn't be taking them. There's a 99.9% recovery rate for this virus. There's treatments for this virus. You don't need a vaccine when you have that kind of a recovery rate and you have treatments for it. This is all nonsense. This is all theater. It's oppressive.
We happen to have one of the 5 most oppressive governors in the state. And we are allowing him to keep our kids masked and to keep us oppressed with this nonsense. There are states like Florida where they protected the vulnerable and everyone else was able to be free. And they've had low incidences of COVID and they're able to live their lives and live their economies. And the other thing is that this whole pandemic has been, the panic has been in the results of fraudulent test results. The PCR tests they have a 97% false positivity rate. They were magnifying the samples too much, at 40 times per sample, to try to make it seem like the pandemic was spread more than it actually was. And asymptomatic spread, people were testing positive because they didn't actually have COVID. The flu was gone. Where'd the flu go this year? And I don't know if anyone noticed, but on Inauguration Day, the CDC changed their number of times that they magnify those samples down to a reasonable level, which lowered the number of positive test rates. This is political, and we are pawns in a political game, and we have to stop it. Our kids are suffering for it, and so is our economy, and so are families. Thank you.
No one knew.
My name is Brian Bergen, 116 West Shore Road. So I'm going to, if I may, I want to just offer a little bit of a balanced view. You may have applauded a little too early, but hopefully everybody still loves me at the end. I do want to say this because I think it's fair and I think it's an important point to make. I represent 21 different towns. And since the beginning of the pandemic, I will tell you that hands down, Denville has been the best run town. And I've witnessed a lot of different towns make it very difficult for kids to learn. And I have seen Denville do some phenomenal things from day one. I talk very often with, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I know. Look, I talk with Mr. Forte often. I talk with Laura Wagner often about this stuff, and I really appreciate your energy, and I agree with you about the masks. I really do. And I think that, I think though that 99% of the frustration and the solid points you make are really ones that are directed towards others like our governor and the executive orders and everything that they do. I applaud you, and I understand for the Board of Ed the difficult position that you're in because the executive orders are ambiguous. They've been since the start, difficult to read. You know, I'm not so adept at the one with this exception, this loophole to understand, but I do understand personally how difficult it must be to go through with your lawyers and determine, you know, what actually you can get away with and what you can't get away with here. So I just want to say that I love the energy and I applaud the passion and I agree with you. And I hope that we can work together more to prevent this stuff from being the rules and the executive orders in the fall. And I also simultaneously want to say that I do understand the predicament that the board is in. And I do understand that a lot of the executive orders have ambiguity, which while I may read them and think that we can unmask kids tonight, you may read them and your lawyers may read them, and there might be some inherent risk that maybe I can't see because I'm not a lawyer. So I know it's a little bit more of a balanced approach than maybe you would have hoped for me to do tonight, but I just want to say that on both sides, that I totally agree with the mask problem. I'm with you, and I hope that you'll support all the efforts to rein the governor in the future. And I also applaud you for the efforts that you've done, which have been monumental to date. But I will ask, obviously, because I think there's a genuine a lot of energy around this, that just give it one last look. Have the lawyer check it one more time, that executive order. Give it one last look, see if there's any opportunity, if you wouldn't mind. And then what I'll ask the public that's here today, you know, we got 7 days left, and I know we shouldn't abandon things, but after they give it a real hard look with their attorneys, let's do our best to a point to trust that they are doing the best that they possibly can in this terrible, ambiguous guidance that we're getting from the governor every day. So I love you all. I just want to say thank you to you and to all of you up here. Thank you very much.
We said that we would allow this discussion until 9/11. Is there anyone else here who would like to be heard? Is there anybody else online?
There is one person that'd like to be heard again that was heard before. Also,
There is a second public session. Thank you. That is at the end of our meeting. There is a second public comment section. Okay, I don't see anyone here who has voiced their wish to speak, so let's hear from the person online.
okay. Mr. Okiki, you've indicated you'd like to speak again. If you'd like to unmute yourself.
No, I think that was in error. I apologize.
No problem. Thank you.
So just double checking, is there anybody here who has not yet spoken that wishes to speak? Okay, so then we are going to close public comments section. Oh, I'm sorry, you're coming up. I thought you were leaving. I apologize. Take your time. If you could just push the button and identify yourself and address. Thank you.
Stacy Murphy, 22 Dogwood Drive. I just wanted to also applaud you for the zero transmission rate, and I want to thank you for all you're doing. I also just want to mention that I wanted to re-applaud the nurses that came, because I think it's shameful that they would get shouted down by this crowd. And I just want to say that bullying works both ways. But thank you for all you're doing, and I appreciate it.
No one else?
Okay, so it is 9:10. We are going to close public comment section at this time. As we stated before, there is a public comment section at the end of the meeting. Go ahead. Thank you. And just so we're clear, we're voting on this plan at our next meeting, at our next public meeting, okay? June 28th, 2 weeks from now. Yes, right here. Okay, we are going to move on with our agenda.
Can I just make a quick clarification? Because something came up with one of the comments, and sometimes when comments are said and nobody corrects it, it
Hey,
stays.
if you guys want to stick around and hear Dr. Forte's clarification,
Just a
that would
quick
be
one.
greatly appreciated.
One of the comments mentioned that the Persons of the Year program was funded by taxpayer dollars. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that that is not the case. It is all done by fundraising. So there's no taxpayer dollars in there. I also want to make sure everybody understands that in no way is the district in any way recommending a vaccine to students or staff. It's just providing information for people to make the decision on their own. In no way will we recommend any type of medical action.
Yes, let's have some board comments. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mrs. Wagner. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. I really appreciate it. I can tell you that on my 7 years on the board, I think, there's a few topics I could think of that have been really passionate by the public, and I thank you for your feedback. I think it's really important and beneficial. Is my time up to you? Sorry. Just, I got 30 seconds. You could put the 3-minute timer on. It's okay. This has not been an easy year. I know everybody knows it. It has not. I applaud Mrs. Wagner. I can tell you she has spent hours on the phone with Dr. Forte and the staff and every board member. Gosh, every decision has been questioned, looked at, thoroughly tried to figure out a way to make it best for the students. And that has been the goal. Every single decision that has been made this school year, period. I can tell you that. In the beginning of the school year, I was part of the reopening committee. There were several board members on it, along with the public, along with staff, along with administration. And my personal opinion, when Dr. Forte said we are going to go back 5 days a week, every single student, was there is no way we can do that. There is no district that was doing it. We were one of a very, very small group of districts in the state, and no one locally was. I mean, Dr. Forte looks at other superintendents locally for guidance, and I can tell you, we really pushed the envelope with it as much as possible for the benefit of the students. Really, that was the end of it. That was the beginning and the end of the conversation. It was all about, we didn't think A-B schedules were going to work. I could tell you, this is an ever evolving situation. It was getting better. It got worse. It's getting better. It's much, much, much better right now. And I hope we can start September without masks in our school. So I hope we can. I can't guarantee it, because if things get worse from now till then, and the advice of our professionals and experts that we rely on, that's the other thing I'll mention. There is not a person in this district that is an expert in population health. Our 7 nurses are the closest thing to it. Dr. Forte has partnered with St. Clair's Health, Atlantic Health, other physicians and experts in the town, the best possible people we could find for advice and information. I could tell you 2 out of 3 of my kids had COVID. We got the best guidance, not advice, not medical advice, but guidance on what to do from our nurses, not the Department of Health, not the Department of Health. I can tell you right now, don't call the Department of Health. They'll call you back in 5 days after my kids were already out of the window of a problem. So we've had good advice. We've done a really good job. I really support everything Dr. Forte and the staff have done. I hope that we can walk into our schools. Every single student can walk into our schools without a mask if they choose to in September. I hope that's the case. And I can promise you that if we can, I will support it. It needs to be safe though, okay? If it gets worse, guys, we may be in a different position, but I really hope that if it stays where we are right now, we will be heading in that direction, at least from my perspective, barring any executive orders or something that's going to be over the top of us. Right now, we've got a few days to get through, and thank you for all the support that the parents, the staff, and the students have given this year. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Mr. Lohr, I apologize. I skipped over you. Do you have comments?
Not at this time, but thank you.
Mr. Capello.
So I'd like to, I think, mirror most of what Mr. Anderson said. I thank everyone for coming. We've said this all along, and it is one of the most depressing things when you look out and there's no one sitting here. This got heated tonight. Everyone has passion. That's fantastic. But the worst thing is when people don't come out and they don't tell us what they think. That being said, I agree with Mr. Anderson completely. I would love nothing better than to see our kids without masks in the fall. There is no one on this board, in this administration, who has any interest in masking kids if it's unnecessary. No interest in having forcing kids to have vaccines. None of us, as far as I know, have any vested interest in that. We are volunteers. We take time away from our families, from our business, to be here to hopefully understand the situation as best as we can and make the best decision we can. We have 2 pillars: educate our children and keep them safe. That's it. It's an easy job in a way, because that's all we have to do. If we keep that focus, then this job is not terribly complicated, okay? So I understand this issue raises a lot of passion for everybody. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I'm not going to get into what I think is misinformation about things that were said tonight. I'm going to get into that later when we vote next week. But I do want to say this district follows the science. I made a comment after the events of January 6th that said that my generation is terrible, absolutely terrible at trying to filter out information and decide what's true and what's not. We are the first people to be exposed to the fire hose of social media. I used to watch the evening news, and if Dan Rather said it, it was true. Walter Cronkite said it, it was true. Okay, now we are bombarded with information, and a lot of it comes with a bias, with facts that aren't really facts, with information that is just not true. So we have to rely on the science. We have to rely on the best information that we have, and we will do that. Everyone up here does that every day. I have complete faith in everybody I'm on the board with. They are, most of them, all of them, are smarter than me. They're probably more engaged than me. And I take their lead, and honored every day to work with them and the administration. They are doing what's right for your kids, and I fully believe that.
Laura, can I just add one more thing? I'm sorry. There was a comment earlier, and I meant to mention this in my comments about the finances of this. I can promise you that COVID has cost this district more than we have gotten from the federal government, period. I've seen the bills. I've seen the checks that go out the door. Okay, we are not profiting from COVID. We are not profiting from any federal money that's coming in. Are we in a good financial position? Yes. The excess surplus has zero to do with the surplus money or the federal money that's coming in from any of the federal money. We as a district, actually, you should be upset with our federal government because districts locally, 2 towns over, got $11 million in COVID money. $11 million. Okay. A district in North Jersey got 170 some odd million in COVID money. We got 300,000. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Forte. 300,000. Okay. We have not made one decision. In fact, we've made a lot of decisions that were, hey, this is going to be the best for the kids, but it's going to cost us money. Go do it. We have spent a lot of money this year that was unplanned. That was not for that reason. So I understand the passion, guys, but please understand it is zero about the money. And I'm happy to talk about that afterwards. Please reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to any of you. This is not about the money, okay? It's zero about it from my perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kim.
First of all, I want to thank everyone that's here. I want to especially thank the children. I know that it probably took a lot of courage to come up here, and you certainly make us proud. I'm sure I speak for everyone on the board that, the children, we rarely see children come up and speak. And so to have the children really share their pain, share their experiences, truly resonates with me and with the rest of us. So I want to thank all the children. I also appreciate the passion as chairman of the, or as chair of the Finance Committee. I invite you all to come to our budget discussions. I'll be happy to have a similar discussion. Kind of boring, but you're more than welcome to bring the passion to the Finance Committee or the budget discussion. So I welcome you all. But no, thank you for all coming, and thank you, children, for sharing your experiences.
Thank you, Mr. Cass.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. I'm not a big fan of wearing masks. I just took mine off, okay? As there are a lot of us, okay? I left my mask out in my truck because I didn't think I needed one until I walked in the municipal building and said, supposed to be wearing a mask. So across the hall there, I saw my my buddies from the administration, town council. I don't know exactly what the meeting was about. Maybe, I think Gene was in there. And I didn't see too many people with masks on in there. So we're all singing out of the same hymn book on that. But a few other things that came up during the discussion here that are real important to me. First of all, I'll start out. I don't like being called a communist. There are 2 veterans on this board that served the country, and that's a big insult to call me a communist because we're trying to follow the law and do what's right here, okay? And I'm going to mention that. Well, I was calling. Listen, you had your chance to talk. I'm talking now. I'm not talking about the law. I'm talking about calling me a communist along with the other people. I'll be all right. You got free speech, right? You have a right to do that. But it bothers me because you got 2 veterans on the board. They serve this country proudly, and we're all doing what's best for the kids, okay? Some of you people may not know that, but just about everybody on the board here, volunteers and other community activities, a lot of them for the kids. James here is from PAL Track. Mike serves on the Hub Soccer Board with me for many, many years. Laura was on the playground committee that I chaired to rebuild the Garnerfield playground. She ran the truck festivals, which was a massive undertaking there. They raised the major share of the $250,000 that we raised for the playground. So everybody here wants to do things for the kids and works very hard at it, okay? Teachers not allowing the kids mask breaks or making them feel uncomfortable. I don't know if that's been reported. I have not heard that in our executive sessions. Same thing with the bullying. We take that very seriously. So if some kids being bullied because they're keeping their mask on, that should be reported. If you're not happy with results, you get it to school and reporting it. You call out the superintendent or the president of the board, and we'll look into that because we take bullying very very seriously. No child should be bullied because they're wearing a mask. And the same thing with the mask breaks. That their child's supposed to be having a mask break and it's not, they feel uncomfortable doing it. Let's investigate that because that's unacceptable to me. So, and Mike mentioned about the surplus, and this district here has been very prudent with the finances. We've done millions and millions and millions of dollars in repairs and upgrades to our schools without doing a referendum that raised your taxes. Okay, so that we always put money aside to do those big projects. And again, thanks for coming. Really appreciate it. And I think give us some more things to discuss as we move forward for the remainder of the school year, but more importantly, the next school year. Not that far away.
Thank you, Mr. Cass. Mrs. Gould?
Hi, I didn't raise my hand, but I will gladly share my thoughts. I do want to thank everybody for speaking up. I mean, some of the things I hear about with that, kids with issues with the masks, we specifically asked the district about reports from the nurses and, and bullying as well. We get any accusations of bullying comes before the board. So I do encourage anyone with those issues, please pursue reporting that within the school, moving up through the chain of command, up through the principal and up to the district if needed. And as for my appearance virtually, I am a bit offended at being called a coward. I had no childcare tonight, so I had to stay home. Otherwise, I was going to be returning to in person. So, but I do share my face and I support the board and the district 100% with the actions that we voted on, through this past year. I'm proud that the school has been open and both open and a virtual option, because I am full supporter of equity in all terms. And we do have to look at the big picture. There are lots of cases where individuals may not fit in the big picture, and that's when we need to talk about accommodations and what we need to do for that family. And I do understand some families, it's not every family it's going to have the right thing as everybody else. And I think that's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gould. Obviously, I think that everybody here can feel the passion in the room from the audience as well as from the board. I've shared some facts earlier. There's some other things that I just want to follow up with. I want to echo Mr. Kim's sentiments of the students who came up and voiced your opinions. Thank you so much. It takes a lot of bravery to come and talk to a crowd of adults sitting up on this thing up here, and you guys did a great job. Congratulations. You should be very proud of yourselves. Other board members have mentioned we take acts of bullying very seriously, all 7 of us. If you feel that your child has been bullied or whatever the case may be, or treated inappropriately this school year because of masks or because of something else, we encourage you to follow the chain of command, as Mrs. Gould said. Speak with the teacher, the building administrator, Dr. Forte, myself, or any of the board members. Our contact information is there and available to you always. Keeping our students safe and educated are our only 2 priorities. There's been a lot of accusations tonight about the 7 of us. What I will say is that the 7 of us, I think, do a fair representation of the political spectrum. So for the 7 of us to sit here and agree about what are the best interests of the children and following the guidelines that are given to us, I feel like that shows me that we're on the right path. We have extremes of both political parties, I would say, and a number of people who sit somewhere in the middle. But we all agree that we need to do what is the best for the entire district. And we follow the advice of professionals. We follow the advice of professionals when it's about education. Those are the people that this district employs. We also follow the advice of medical professionals, and no one here is an expert in the field of public health or immunology. So the administration has sought out those expert opinions And it is based on their recommendations as well as the laws that the governor has handed down, that we are following these mandates. So again, I want to say that while we take public opinion into consideration in everything that we do, the district and the administration will continue to follow the advice of the medical experts who have brought us to 0 rate of transmission of COVID in our buildings. I also wanted to address the air conditioning. The air conditioning has been a hot topic for Denville this school year. We have 20 rooms, I believe, in the district, in the entire district. So that's 4 buildings. We only have 20 rooms, 20 classrooms that do not have air conditioning. There are usually other rooms for them to move to if the situation is too hot, but those are the times that the staff and administration is offering mask breaks when they feel it's appropriate and they're socially distanced at their desks. Other districts have changed rules and regulations based on what they believe is best. We don't have extreme heat in our buildings, and in September, Dr. Forte, I'm just going to ask you to double check me, but in September, I believe we will have 0 classrooms in the district that have no air conditioning. Is that right?
That is the plan.
Yes. So our 20 should go to 0, and so that should not be a concern as well in September. And last, I just want to give you this statistic that in the beginning of the school year, we started with 70% of the student population attending in person. And as you're probably aware, every marking period, families were allowed to change, whether they could always go virtual, but they were allowed to rejoin in person if they chose. And at the end of last week, I asked Dr. Cullis for statistics, and 78%. So we've had an increase of nearly 10% of our student population that has chosen to come into the buildings and be educated in person, which I think speaks volumes. So again, thank you for coming. Thank you for sharing your opinions. There is a public comment again at the end of our meeting, a second public comment section. And thank you for your input. Now we're going to move on with our meeting. I'm asking the board their opinion on moving the full agenda as a block tonight, considering the time.
Sounds like a good idea.
Just look through. There might be something that we want to highlight. I'm honestly not sure at this point.
Are you just talking about action items?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's very few action items. So, yep, it's work session. So I'm good with that.
While everyone's looking, would you like me to just read the old business for the next meeting? Okay. So at the next meeting, I or someone else will be removing under old business items A, B, and C. These are the board reports from May 2021, Treasurer of School Monies and Board Secretary. We'll also be voting on education reports, the report of student enrollment for May 2021, and the report of the health office for May 2021. And lastly, minutes from our work session and executive session meeting May 10th, 2021, and our regular session and executive session meeting May 24th, 2021.
Mrs. Wagner, would you like me to make the motion to?
Hey, Laura, actually, I'm sorry, real quick, guys. As I've looked through this, I think there are some important items that we should go through individually. So I'd prefer if we went through each item.
Okay, I actually agree flipping through here. So thank you for going through old business. Now we are going to move on to new business where there is action to be taken. Mr. Anderson, would you please mind moving us through personnel?
Sure. Under item 4, new business action to be taken, A, personnel, I'd like to move items 1 through 11 as a block. Please pay attention to the addendum, which includes item 1, L is in Lima, through Q is in Quebec.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Thank you, Mr. Cass. Comments, questions, concerns? Highlights.
I would like to congratulate Mrs. Cheryl Caputo on her retirement. She's been a psychologist and a school counselor in our district for a very long time. at Lakeview.
Thank you, Dr. Collis.
I would second that. I've had interactions with Mrs. Caputo, so I completely encourage her to enjoy her retirement.
If we vote no, does that mean she has to stay?
We tried that already, Dave, remember? Anything else we want to highlight or have questions about? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Lure,
Yes.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Mrs. Gould,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner.
Yes. Okay, on to instruction and program, letter B. Mrs. Gould, would you move us through that, please?
Sorry, I missed the unmute button there. Yes, if there are no objections, I move to vote on to approve item 1, approving the proposal from Leadership Solutions for Professional Development for Dr. Stephen Forte at a cost of $2,200.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Gould. Thank you, Mr. Lure. Questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Lure,
Yes.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Mrs. Gould,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner.
Yes. Letter C, finance. Mr. Kim, would you move us through that, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I motion that we move numbers 1 and 2 under section C, finance, to approve the submission of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, our IDEA application for the fiscal year 2020, and accept the grant award of the funds upon subsequent approval, as well as for number 2, to approve the award Maple Wood Shop LLC for the amount of $50,572 to be paid with ESSER 2 funds.
Second.
I just want to make a point of clarification. Did you say fiscal year 2022?
Yes, 2021, I guess, to 2022.
That is correct. That is the application number. No, technically, it's 2122, but they call it 22.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Questions, comments? Damaris, you got Mr. Lure second the motion.
I did.
Seeing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Lure,
Yes.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Mrs. Gould,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner.
Yes. Okay, on to letter D, operations. Mr. Cass, would you move us through operations, please?
We have items under transportation and building and grounds for the board to approve. Item 1.1 is that the board retroactively approve to publish an advertisement for bid solicitations for the sale of the following school buses. We have, these will all be sealed bids for bus 177, bus 178, bus 179, and bus number 12. Also, item 1.2 is that the board approve the parent transportation contract for a special education student for the upcoming school year at a total cost of $345. Under buildings and grounds, we have one item to approve the contract with Gordian Group, Perens Murray Paving Company and Concrete. There is state-approved cooperative to provide contract services for the Riverview School HVAC project in the amount of $680,331.35 to be paid from capital reserve funds. And I'll just mention, as I did in the committee report, that Murray Paving and Concrete, they have done several projects in the school district here, and the work was very well done. They were very cooperative. And we also talked about fast tracking this process because construction materials are getting very, very difficult to procure for contractors. And all the contractors, where they're doing house renovations or big building projects, they're really busy and backed up. So we got to work to make sure this is done before the upcoming school year starts.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Cass. Thank you, Mr. Capello. Questions, comments, concerns?
Dr. Forte, if you wouldn't mind, just for point of clarification for the public, I know we've had a lot of discussion with the board on item 2.1, the HVAC work at Riverview. Can you just give a little clarification? I know it's a big number, so I want to make sure everybody is clear exactly as to what we're doing.
This is something we've been speaking about probably for 2 years at least, right? The HVAC in the Riverview all-purpose room and gym needs to be replaced. The heat is not functioning properly. It's been on the list of things to repair or replace for the last few years. The board did discuss and agreed to add air conditioning to that space as well. So the cost of the air conditioning is included in the $680,000. But it would have been, I think it was somewhere around $250,000 less if we took that out. So it was about $400,000-ish to do the heat alone. And then the board agreed to approve the full renovation and include the HVAC with the air conditioning as well.
And just for additional point, that comes out of the capital reserve fund. So I know there's some questions earlier about the reserve funds. There's several, like was indicated earlier, there's a maintenance reserve fund and a capital reserve funds. They have some specific rules as to what we can use those funds for specifically. This project is able to come out of our capital reserve funds. So although sometimes you see some money moving into reserves, you also see money coming out of reserves. So just depends on the project and exactly what we're going to do with it. This was actually over what was initially, I believe, budgeted. So we've often, as Mr. Cass mentioned earlier, we have been fiscally prudent to use our capital reserve fund. I look at it like our savings account. Instead of going to the public and saying, hey, we want to get a $5 million referendum to put air conditioning here, a roof there. We have done all the roofs in the district except for one small piece, I believe, Dr. Forte, is that correct?
There's actually the large piece that's being done this summer, and that's another use of our capital reserve. It's $1 million plus 60,000 square foot replacement of roofing at Lakeview.
Yeah, and I think we looked at it at one point. We are one of a handful of districts in the state of New Jersey that do not have any debt. So just a little bit of commentary, because I know there's some questions earlier about kind of some of the funding and how money moves around. Sometimes it's a little hard when you're looking at it in a one item, but really good use of funds here. And once again, provide additional large space within our district to have air conditioning. And by the way, it was planned prior to all the masking conversations, obviously.
Mrs. Wagner, can I make a comment as well?
Please.
It is also, I echo Mr. Anderson. It is also important to know that federal monies such as ESSER, IDEA, No Child Left Behind, those are all federal fundings, and those funds cannot be saved for capital or maintenance reserve. Those funds are normally roll over into the next year. And if we do not use it, it needs to be returned to the federal funds. And again, those funds cannot be saved for any projects or maintenance or capital or any other local expenditures. It needs to be specifically spent. It has some requirements and some different guidelines than the local fundings.
Thanks, Damaris. And also just to note too, for the 2021-2022 budget year, we have $2.8 million being funded, withdrawn for buildings and grounds projects out of the reserve account. So it's actually 1 year that we plan on, as we've saved up some money. This year, we're going to spend some of that money for some bigger projects.
Thank you. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Capello,
Yes.
Mr. Cass,
Yes.
Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Lure,
Yes.
Mr. Kim,
Yes.
Mrs. Gould,
Yes.
Mrs. Wagner.
Yes. Okay, so now we are at the part of our agenda that talks about new business, no action to be taken. So we're not voting on this and we're not scheduled to vote on this tonight. So if you are following along, I'm just going to ask you to review the agenda there. And if you have questions, to feel free to send them to us. But these are the items that we will be discussing and voting on at our next meeting.
Mrs. Wagner, if I could make a quick comment. For those of you who are here, there are paper copies of the agenda on the table next to the microphone. Please feel free to take one to review it yourselves.
It's also available online if you prefer to have it when you get home. So is the board comfortable with moving now to go to the cause?
Mrs. Wagner, we have section 5, new business, no action to be taken.
Yeah, so that's what.
Oh.
That's what I'm trying to do, is just have kind of a review session. We still have an executive session to get through, so I'm just trying to move this process along. And because there is no vote on any of these items tonight, they're here for you to review, for the public to review, as they are here in print and posted. I'd just like us to move on to go to the cause.
Okay, great.
I have something going to go to the cause.
Thank you, Mr. Cass.
Another example of the excellence of our school system. I had the privilege yesterday to award Hub Soccer and 8VH soccer scholarships to graduating seniors from Morris Knolls who came through our soccer program, played soccer up at Morris Knolls. And Joey Dos Santos is the valedictorian at Morris Knolls. So I think we are very proud of him. He worked very hard to get to that pinnacle. But we've had, I forgot when Timmy Ford graduated. It must have been, 5 or 6 years ago. So we've had a couple of valedictorians at the high school that came out of our school system.
Congratulations to him. Thanks for sharing, Mr. Cass.
As the Denville Green Team liaison, the school board liaison to the Denville Green Team, there's a couple of things that I think would be useful. Excuse me. Obviously, the Denville Green Team is always looking for new volunteers, and we are also working on having a shred day at the Denville Public Works. That is currently in planning, but again, we are always looking for new volunteers.
Thank you. I have something from Lakeview PTA. Obviously, Mrs. Beasley is retiring the end of the month, and they presented her with a scholarship program named after her in her honor. I also wanted to bring to everyone's attention that even though it's been a difficult year of fundraising and not holding events, Lakeview PTA is donating almost $20,000 back to the district for that they fundraised throughout the year. So congratulations to them. Great job. Okay, if there's nothing else for good of the cause, we still have discussion items, board meeting highlights that we need to go over, end of the year events. We just want to wrap up who is going to join us at Valley View graduation and Riverview's lead, and the recap committee report by Mrs. Gould, as well as talking about Board of Ed staff retirement recognition program. Who wants to start?
Start with highlights. How about Persons of the Year for 2021? And the reopening plan for 2021 was discussed at the June 14th meeting, will be approved at the June 28th meeting. And approval of the contract for the Riverview All-Purpose Room and Gym HVAC.
Mrs. Gould, do you want to go ahead with your recap?
Sure, I will try to keep it a little bit briefer. Just to explain that I did email my full minutes to the whole board, but this year we had a new subcommittee, Responsive Practices for Student Equity, that James, Kim, and I were the board members on, and I was the lead coordinator. And we didn't really do minutes for each meeting. A lot of them had some personal conversations, and sometimes I was busy presenting, but I wanted to sum it up at the end of the year to go through some of our accomplishments, some of which you've heard of through Dr. Cullis's reports. But the committee was formed basically after the Denville Voices for Racial Justice met with the district staff, and they wanted to go over 6 key points: a curriculum audit review of materials for multicultural content, continuous education on people of color and special celebrations, and staff professional development, a subcommittee on the board, the discussing student discipline regarding racial incidents with HIB, character education, and the racial makeup of district staff. The objectives of the committee were outlined as 3 points: to have an ongoing conversation between the community, board, and district regarding current and future efforts related to equity in the curriculum and school environment. B, to help develop an anti-racist statement for the district, which we did work on, but we didn't actually publish anything on that. And C was to help the district provide a multicultural education for our children where differences are met with respect and understanding. So I'm going to sum this up in the interest of time, but we really had a lot of success this year. Dr. Cullis really, it was great that she already had several plans in place for professional development. We're all based on racial equity this year, a big focus. Her merit goals were about auditing and supplementing the classroom libraries to include more diverse authors. The big collaboration was between the committee. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to say who was on the committee. It was Board of Education members, district staff from the overall district, representatives from each school, teachers, principals, various, somebody from each school was represented, and community members who have children in the school system. Several of them are members of Denville Voices, but there are also some people who weren't. The biggest things were the Black History Month celebrations, and Denville Voices collaborated on the art poster contest, which was very well received. The MLK food drive raised $2,000 and a couple thousand cans of food. Dr. Cullis has discussed the Blues and Beyond program, which is amazing. There's a lot of discussions that we had on LGBTQ topics and the new New Jersey legislation, and that there's some misconceptions out there on what this actually means in the curriculum. So we had some conversations on that and how important it is to get out into the community some of this information so that they know what's actually happening in our school as they develop the curriculum to meet these requirements. And as in previous board meetings, we discussed Dr. Forte joined CJ Pride, Central Jersey program for the recruitment of diverse educators. And I believe Dr. Cullis recently reported about how many books they bought. They bought 60 to 80 books per each classroom in 5, which was amazing. And in the document, there's more information about the professional development. And one really great thing was before and after professional development, Dr. Cullis sent a survey to the staff. And there's a link to that presentation showing what the staff reported before and after the professional development. And I believe she'll be sharing that at a future meeting. But I just really want to thank everybody for supporting the committee and helping this come together. I think we really had a lot of great conversations, and I really look forward to seeing where it goes in the next year. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. and any time to discuss. Thanks.
Mrs. Wagner, if I may. I'd like to really commend Dr. Cullis and especially Mrs. Gould on an amazing job. They took this committee and they really ran with it, and they've accomplished so much in so little time. So congratulations, Dr. Cullis and Mrs. Gould for an amazing job.
Thank you. And my one comment is, there were a lot more challenges this year than just the pandemic. And the fact that we could really have the pandemic as the backdrop, but that our forefront was really focused on some serious curricular issues and some serious SEL and racial and equity and some really powerful things that needed to be addressed. And I think that was our main focus. We really did keep our eye on where kids need to be into our future. And even though it was in the backdrop of a pandemic, we were still thinking about what kids are going to need past what was going on this year. And so I think those conversations were really powerful, and I'm really proud of the work that we've done. And when I was starting to write it down, and actually, Katie, when you wrote it down and was like, so you were summarizing everything, I was like, I cannot believe how much we have done in 1 year with, just everything from changing the forms in our buildings to, the massive audit. I mean, that is just it's just amazing amount of things that we have done, and all the PD and the community outreach and the student work. I mean, it's pretty amazing. So I appreciate all of the work of that committee, and for you and James leading the charge.
Okay, let's talk about end of year events. So we have Riverview Lead remaining. There was already Lakeview Lead graduation. I have James, myself, and Dino. Is anybody else on the board planning on attending Riverview's Lead graduation?
I'll be there.
And Mr. Anderson. Okay, Steve. Thank you.
I could stand in the back though. I'm good.
And then I have right now requests from Mr. Cass, Mr. Kim, Mr. Lure, and Mr. Capello to attend Valley View. Mike and Katie, you guys are the only ones who haven't responded. So if you want to attend, please just let me or Steve know, in the next day. That would be wonderful.
Will the board be handing out diplomas as well, or assisting with that, or?
So we talked about, we are not going to be handing out diplomas, not the board.
The board, if anybody wants to do it, we'd be okay with that. It was there won't be handshaking this year. It's going to be a little different. We're just going to hand it to everybody. But if anybody wants to do that, please just let me know. And everybody else, like I said before, you'll have a seat up on the turf, except for the one board member that wanted to be with a larger group. They'll be in the stands. And we do not have any reserved seats in the stands, just so everybody knows. The only ones we have are on the turf.
I wanted to talk about the Board of Ed Staff Retirement Recognition Program. We have had, it's not a program yet, but it's something I wanted to talk to you guys about. We have had a number of retirements this year, and Dr. Forte has talked about what the staff in buildings has done, but there's no current, am I right, Dr. Forte? There's no current plan for the district and how we recognize retirements in the district. So we wanted to talk about bringing that up tonight. And if we plan to do that and implement this program, what are the benchmarks that we want to utilize?
I know we talked about it and we wanted to add it to this agenda as a conversation to see if there was a way we could get moving on it quicker than the typical way, which probably would go through the personnel committee as a start and then the discussion from there. If everybody's interested, we could have a conversation about it now and come up with the parameters, things like that, or we could push it back to the personnel committee and have something moving over the summer.
And the only issue of us bringing it up now is that we have a number of retirements coming, at the end of the year. So if we wanted to do something, we would need to act on that this evening.
Do you want the personnel committee to get together this week? I mean, we could do it virtually, right? I mean, we can. Do you know, Katie, are you good with getting a meeting together in the next day or two here?
I believe, yes. I do have a doctor's appointment tomorrow after work, but otherwise I'd be good.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously, we could work around everybody's schedule. I'm sure everybody's got stuff, but we could do it in the next day or two, Laura, if that works. I mean, I think I agree with Dr. Forte. I think there's a bunch of parameters we need to probably think about. So anybody who has feedback, shoot me an email and we'll get together in the next day or two here and we'll have a recommendation to the board towards the end of the week. And then we should be able to finalize it by the end of the week if that's good with you.
Thank you.
But I think it's a great idea and I appreciate you for bringing it up. Thank you.
Okay, we are going to open up for our second public comment section. It is 9:59. If you have, if you'd like to speak and you have yet to speak, please either type your name in or come up and introduce yourselves. The same rules apply as last time.
There is
I'm
one
not gonna
quick
read
comment
that thing
just to
again.
get on the record in the chat. It just says, on behalf of the AR Spinola PTA, thank you for the kind recognition, Laura, for the donation they made.
Thank you for your donation.
Hello, my name is Melissa Keenan. I reside at 71 Woodstone Road. A few more questions. I'd like to know what science is being used to make the decision about mask wearing. When I went to the CDC website, I was reading mask studies. I was actually shocked at how ridiculous the studies were. I know I mentioned one of them earlier. One of the ones saying that masks for children was safe was determined doing a study with 47 children, again, in a hospital setting, which means it's temperature controlled. They wore masks for 30 minutes, and the extent of their physical activity was 10 minutes of walking. That does not represent what our children are experiencing by wearing masks for 7 or more hours, depending on whether they're in aftercare. Will you make these studies that you're using to base your decisions on available to the public for review? My other question is, how can other New Jersey districts make different mask policies or make masks optional if everyone has the same executive order from the same governor? And lastly, is there a way to survey the parents whose children go to these schools and ask them what they feel is best moving forward, just to gauge, you know, what everyone really thinks is best for their children moving forward? That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there comments from the online meeting?
Yes, we have Marietta Cohen. If you'd like to unmute yourself, please.
Yes, hi. I already spoke. I just wanted to correct myself because I misspoke. I said the age group of 5 to 18 years old has a 99.997 infection rate. It is actually survival rate. And I just wanted to go on the record to correct myself. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Donna Marie Szynski, and I'm also an ordained minister. This is my daughter, Shayna Paulina Culleney, and she's in the 7th grade Valley View. Thank you, Mr. Case, for your service. And we've dealt with Hub Soccer for many years, and Michael Anderson was also a coach of, I think, Shayna's. But so thank you for all you guys for donating your time and anyone who served. My father was a veteran in Paramus, VA. I wasn't going to get up to speak today, but I heard a couple of things, and I don't believe you're a communist or anybody else up here. I think we're all Americans, but it's very un-American to not take a vote. It's very un-American to not include the parents. And it's against our constitutional rights to have a teacher take our place, okay? It's under the teacher's discretion, I believe it was written as, not the parents for the masking. My daughter's getting panicked with the mask. She's been virtual. She has an IEP for dyslexia. It's not fair, okay? I understand that there are children with immunocompetent. I have autoimmune disorders. That's why I'm gloved right now, okay? I get rashes. I have several autoimmune disorders. So this whole thing was a disruption to me as well. I lost my father in the VA. As you guys all know, I'm sure you read my email. Governor Murphy sent the COVID patients to the VA. The nurses and the aides were not aware. So Senator Sweeney was lying when he made those statements. I speak to them. I talked to them on the phone. I didn't know my dad was sick until one of his aides called us. We weren't going to be told. He died on April 8th. His name was never mentioned. R.I.P. Stanley Szynski. Please consider asking us parents what we think are best for our children. We are the parents, and I believe that is our right. Okay? That's all I'm asking for. Just be a little bit more American. Would you like to speak?
Sure. With the mask, I have loads of issues. I have a lot of stress and anxiety. I have a hard time breathing. And it's just a very hard year for everyone. And we'll have lots of losses, and it's really upsetting because I lost a lot of people that I know and love in my life. But I'm still moving forward, and I just want the world to be better and everyone to be happy, because for me, I love everyone happy. I want my job to make people happy. That's my main goal. And I just really, really want everyone happy and to have the best time of their lives.
Do you want to talk about your bullying experience?
Yeah, I've been bullied a lot in school, and to be honest, I really don't mind anymore because at this point.
Who bullied you this year? You were virtual. Don't give a name.
But I've been bullied a lot this year, especially because I was just virtual, and it doesn't matter if you're virtual or not. Like, you're still a person, you're still human, and you still have a voice, you're still a person, and everyone has a right to make their own choices. So.
And that's what this country's all about, is choice. So please give us parents the choice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine Murphy, Cottage Circle. I just first want to say I'm very sorry to hear about your dad in the VA. That was a very nice story. It was nice of you to be able to share that with us. And to the service members on the board, if you took my comments as calling you communist, I am sorry for that. That's not what I meant. I respect and thank you for your service. But what I did want to draw attention to, and I'm going to give the board the benefit of the doubt that they're not informed in all the emails going back and forth between Ms. Wagner and I. So the biggest concern that I have is she sent an email when I had asked her if she had asked parents how they feel about masks. If you're wondering why you didn't get a survey, it's because Ms. Wagner said that parents are not eligible for a survey.
Actually, I'm not going to let you misquote me. That's not what I said. What I said is that we are following the law and we are following Executive Order 175, and that we can hear parent concerns and community concerns.
It's my time. I'll send everybody the email. I have your words.
You're welcome.
Then the other really slippery slope is she said after that parents are not up for a survey, she then said
that masks are not up to a parent's discretion. Okay. Then an email is sent out to parents that mask breaks are up to a teacher's discretion. That is implying that a student's well-being and health is being decided by the state. That's the point that I want to drive here. A parent is in charge of their children. The state does not have say over a child's health. A teacher does not know what a child is feeling and have the intuition to know that a child needs a break. Who is a teacher to tell a child when they can breathe freely? They don't know what's going on with a child. And based on the children's testimony tonight, you have a really, really unethical culture with your teachers bullying these kids where they feel intimidated to tell a teacher that they need a break to breathe. I mean, it's a really sad state of affairs in our country that people had to come down here tonight to advocate for their kids to breathe when other districts have made masks optional. So going back to the communist kind of point, you're making no effort to honor people's personal choices or freedoms. And where I'm getting aggravated is everybody is stating the law. An executive order is not a law.
Thank you.
Jennifer Priestner, 5 Whitman Drive. I just wanted to clarify something. I think I didn't come across in the correct way with the money. I didn't mean to imply that the district was using the excess money, inappropriately or profiting off of COVID or anything like that. The point I was really trying to make was once you submit this plan to the state, you're committed to following whatever plan you're submitting and you get the grant money. So once you get the grant money, you have to follow the plan. We don't need the money, is my point, really. That we're not hurting. We don't need to do this in order to help our kids in any way. We don't have to commit to these plans in order to get the money because we need it. My point really was our district is in financially great shape. So for, the ESSER amount of the $327,000, well, yes, that's a lot of money, but we have surplus of millions of dollars that is being spent. I understand that is being allocated towards things. But my point really is, if we don't submit these plans, we're losing out on federal funding of what? Do we really need that funding? Or instead of doing that, can we decide for ourselves, aside from the executive order, decide for ourselves what we want the district to do? The other thing I had a question, I know this isn't a back and forth, the resolution on the Maplewood shop for the $50,000, I think it was mentioned that was for woodshop tools and training or something like that. But I was confused because it said in the agenda that was actually paid with the ESSER 2 funds. So I wasn't sure if you could get any clarification on that part.
Damaris, can you help us out with that one question about the ESSER 2 funds?
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, good. There are several funding coming from the government. There is the CARES Act, there is the ESSER 2, and there also the ESSER number 3. The ESSER 2, the district was allowed $145,000 to spend for education over the extended school year programs, for acceleration of programs and educational. The ESSER 3 funding is the resolution that you have on the agenda tonight to be approved on June 28th in the amount of $327,000. They're two different fundings. And again, the one for the Maplewood Woodshop was from the ESSER 2, which we are utilizing to educate the students for the extended school program.
I'm back on if anybody wants a question. Has a question. My battery died. It went long and the battery just died on the computer. So what's the question about the wood shop?
Can you explain about Maplewood Woodshop supplies for the extended school year program, please?
Well, it's not just the supplies. I mean, they are woodworking stations. We don't have woodworking in the district now. So what we have purchased is something that we can provide a hands-on experience for kids in the summer, because we don't want to just have it be math and language arts. We want to provide arts and music and hands-on experiences for kids, so that when they come in, that they really want to be there and have these experiences rather than it be a repeat of the school year. We're really trying to accelerate kids in the summer rather than repeat what they've already done. So they're using the hand tools and they will be creating all sorts of projects, with the materials. The woodworking stations are permanent stations that we will have for as long as they are in good condition. It's not buying the wood.
Dr. Cullis, I don't think you can hear the member of the audience, but I believe that you answered her question. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. I can't even see anything right now, so
We do not have anyone else online. I did just get one, but let's wait.
Hi, my name is Kathy Zingone, and I don't live in Denville, but my grandchildren go to your wonderful school system, which I've always respected as a really wonderful school system. I am a nurse. I read a lot of the science articles, and I want to tell you that you are going to base your vote either on science, on the law, on your belief in our freedoms here in this country, or on the fear factor. I have looked at a lot of science. There is not compelling evidence that these masks are doing anything good. And I want to tell you, at Morristown Memorial, one of the biggest employee problems is medical consequences of being masked all the time. That is one of the biggest workers' comps issues right now. People out because of masks. If you don't think this is happening in a negative way, affecting the children in a negative way, physically, psychologically, you're under a rock somewhere. These children are either afraid to go out in the world without a mask because their parents are crazy, fearful people, or they're being bullied that they don't wear a mask. They're afraid to show their faces places. That's terrible. So you make your decision on this vote based on not fear, not bogus science. And I think you owe the parents of your school system the science you're going to base it on if you're using science. When you vote, you really need to let people know, I based my vote on science, freedom, fear, or the law. You have to stand behind your vote, and you owe the parents that much. And I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Rokicki, if you'd like to unmute yourself whenever you're ready.
Yeah, so I have just two things. I know that I have a 3-minute limit. I just wanted to try and appreciate that everybody's trying to preserve the purity of essence of our children, and I get that. But I also think that we have to be mindful that heart surgeries and transplants take hours. Surgeons are in masks for hours, right? And if we're going to throw this mantra or bandy this thing about if we need science, then I think that we really need to start having conversations about peer-reviewed academic journal pieces, right? I have spent time in the academic world, and I think that if you're going to base decisions, and I'm not talking about the board, I'm talking about people referencing quote unquote science, I think we need to be mindful that YouTube videos, Wikipedia articles, and page 2 of Google does not count as intense research. You are not an academic at that point. The other piece that I wanted to switch gears on was to at least put in front of the board or potentially ask for future discussion if we'll take the lead or follow the lead of the Randolph district and remove reference to the holiday names from our calendar and simply refer to them as days off going forward. Thank you again.
Thank you.
No, we do not.
So in response to that comment from the man that just was speaking, when kids have missed as much school as they have, are we going to spend our time worrying about if a holiday is Christmas or days off? I know that they suspended testing right now, but when they resume testing, what are our children's academics going to be like? We're playing catch up. The rest of the country didn't close down like this. Those kids are thriving. Those kids will be smarter than these kids. Those kids have not been set back almost 2 years. So I don't know what career path this man has planned for our children, but I have way more faith in their abilities and want to invest in our kids. And I think that to worry about holiday names, if that's what you're worried about in the time of a pandemic, when you're saying that you're worried about people's lives, but you somehow managed to worry about holidays, that's ridiculous. I think that I feel bad for Randolph. It's embarrassing. I hope you guys don't go down that route. The other thing is I just want to address the school board. You're elected officials. You're supposed to represent us, our views, what we want. And if you do not vote to make the masks optional, we can recall you. You are not here and stuck here. You're volunteering. If you can't muster up the strength after listening to these kids to make it optional, you have 2 options. You can resign, or we're going to have to recall you because you're not representing us. You have ignored everyone, said that you're going to listen to science, and you haven't provided a shred of science. If you really believed in what you're putting forward, you would have had on that screen the guidance, and you would have told us this is in your best interest. You want your kid in a mask. If you really believed in the mask, if you believed in the mask and you believe that it will keep our kids safe, you would come with the science and convince us to do it. But you didn't, because you don't have the interest of us at heart.
Ms.
So
Murphy,
vote.
Thank you very much. You've had your 3rd period of 3 minutes. Thank you. And you that would like to speak.
Donna Marie Szynski again. I just wanted to make a reference to, I listened to peer-reviewed studies, not just some wacko, whatever. Dr. Pierre Corey saved so many lives, and I just spoke with a nurse from St. Clair's today that said that the use of steroids was actually the game changer. Okay, ivermectin and all those other wonderful prophylactic medications also were game changers. But my brother had COVID in December before we knew it was here. And if it wasn't for the steroids that his doctors would normally give when he had bronchitis or severe bronchitis, he probably wouldn't be here. So yes, there's peer-reviewed science out there, real science, and Pierre Corey did go before our Congress, I believe, okay? But I did watch him speak on this, and there's many, many peer-reviewed, real scientists, real practicing doctors that actually were in the front lines that will tell you the same thing. We would really appreciate to know what science this is being based off of. So if we could have those scientific studies, we'd appreciate it. And I hope they're not just from Dr. Fauci. Thank you.
No, there is no one else online.
Okay, it is 10:23 and we are going to close public comment. We do have the need for an executive session. Mr. Capella, would you move us into executive session? But I'm sorry, before you do, I just want to note for the public that when we come out of executive session, we will not be voting on anything.
You know what? If you don't mind, I'd like to make a comment to you, Laura, if that's okay. So I wasn't going to do this tonight, but let's get into it.
Well, you're going to leave now?
That's fine. This will be on the record.
We actually have made this statement publicly, and since the June 4th release of this document, that this document will be voted on at our next board meeting, which is June 28th. Have a good night, Ms. Murphy. Thank you so much for coming. Have a good night.
Thank you. So I want to make a few comments about what I heard tonight. There are certain things you can't let stand, especially when there's misinformation, there's lies. There's, excuse me, the public session is over now. I'm speaking to the chair. So there are literally thousands of studies going back to the 1900s about the efficacy of masks.
Okay, what I've asked and what almost every one of the public has been able to do is be respectful and courteous. And you, Ms. Murphy, have been unable to do that. We've given you time. You've disrespected veterans sitting on this dais. You've disrespected the board members volunteering their time. You've called us communists. You've insulted other members of the community. We will not tolerate that. If you cannot be respectful, then please do not speak here at our meeting. Thank you very much.
So I'll continue. If someone wanted to take this job, I would be totally okay with that. If they want to run for this position, I would be happy after 8 years. I love doing this job almost 99% of the time, and I'm here for the people of Denville. My kids go to these schools too. I've listened to everything you've said tonight, and I've taken the informed, reasonable opinions you had, and I've taken them to heart. But there's a lot that's been said that's just absolutely not true, and I cannot agree with it. First of all, everyone here has your children's best interest at heart. There is no other agenda here. And I saw Mrs. Priestner left. She's conflating money with what we want to do, and we want to do the right thing. If it was about money, I would not vote for it. It's about doing the right thing for your kids and my kids, and I believe that thoroughly. I'm going to throw a number out, 2,500 cases. That's how many flu cases there were this year, as opposed to 41 million last year, okay? What was different? People were wearing masks. People were distanced. Of course the science works. Ma'am, I forgot your name. Donna, you referred to Dr. Pierre Corey. He's a doctor. He was a doctor, fired from 2 hospitals for spreading false medical information. Again, there's a lot of information out there. There's a ton of information. We are all trying to digest a fire hose of information, right? And again, I feel very strongly my generation is not very good at it, at discerning right from wrong. I said at one of our previous meetings, I hope that we educate our kids to be discrete learners, to understand information and hopefully be able to process it and come up with opinions that make sense. If you came in here and told us we should teach flat earth, I would disagree with you. I disagree with you on many of the things that were said tonight. I disagree with the fact that masks are on one hand not effective, but at the same time are so effective at stopping the passing of oxygen and carbon dioxide that they're somehow damaging people. Those two facts just don't make sense to me. I disagree. There are 538 school districts in New Jersey. A handful have gotten rid of the mask mandate unilaterally. And I feel they totally exceeded the governor's order. You're advocating for free choice on one hand, free choice for parents, but then you're taking the choice from us and you're saying you want to rely on another district and what they've decided. Who knows why they made that decision? I'll give you an example. Mountain Lakes lost $1.7 million in their budget last year. They just disappeared. It was a mistake. People make mistakes all the time. I don't know. Should I follow what Mountain Lakes does? I don't know. But the point is, we're all here trying to do the best we can. We're trying to make sure that our kids are safe and they're educated. So for people to come in here and to say to my fellow board members and to administrators that there's something shady going on, that there's some agenda here, there's some, and I apologize, I'm looking at you now and that's true. I'm just looking. There are people that said that we're doing shady things, that there's some hidden agenda. There isn't a hidden agenda here. I don't take time away from my family and my business to be here, again, to mask children or to vaccinate unwilling families. That's not what this is about. It really isn't. That's all I have to say.
Public comment section is closed. I just want to say that before we move to our executive session, that not one of the 7 of us is an expert in public health. And, you know, I said this before and I'm saying it again. We rely on experts in their profession, in their field. So the board and administration will continue to rely on the experts. And yes, we are voted in, we are elected officials, but we are elected to do what is in the best interest of the students of Denville and not to necessarily follow public opinion. So that is what we will continue to do. And now let somebody move us to executive session, please.
I would be happy.
It's personnel and legal as well.
Okay. If there are no objections, I move to convene an executive session in accordance with Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act. The purpose of this closed session will be discuss personnel and legal issues. Minutes of this session will be made available to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists.